I gotta get to softball practice.
Practice? I thought we were going to go next door and welcome our new neighbors.
Oh, no. I don't want anything to do with neighbors. Last guy who lived next door borrowed my toaster. Never saw it again. If that slut wants full custody of the kids, she's got it.
Peter, they...
Now, I want to start by saying that I'm fully aware that Family Guy is known for its controversial humor, and this video does not in any way advocate for the censorship of the show in any capacity. In fact, I think it's important that shows such as this are allowed to push the envelope of what is appropriate and inappropriate humor. I say this out of a basic desire for the maintenance of free speech, but more importantly in this case, I say it because it allows us to gauge certain standards of humor, specifically the boundaries that a society erects in the form of inappropriate and appropriate humor in hopes of minimizing the amount of humor that can be derived from another human being's suffering. In every society, there exists a fine line between humor and an insensitive attempt at it, and each individual society has different tolerance levels for just how much humor can be derived from the suffering of a specific group. In this case, we have the heterosexual divorced male, and what this scene tells us is that it is in fact okay to ridicule heterosexual male suicide, and in a way that graphically depicts the actual suicide taking place. Now, even in an animated media format with a show known for controversial humor, I simply do not think that in this PC climate, and especially with the recent suicides involving female and homosexual high school youth, I don't think for a second that Family Guy would depict these scenarios, the actual act of suicide for any of these two groups. I believe society would deem it insensitive and cruel. I believe that a humor boundary has been created within our society in terms of gay suicide, and I also believe that no complementary precautions exist for heterosexual male suicide, specifically when dealing with the issue of suicide prompted by divorce, homelessness, and post-traumatic stress disorder. The question is why? You see, the lack of empathy towards male suicide is a function of female entitlement in its purest form. That being that the female, on perhaps even a biological level, believes she is inherently more worthy of life than her male counterpart. Female biology dictates to women that they should do whatever it takes to not find themselves fighting in the middle of a war zone. And if men that can't handle being fashioned into trained killers and being dropped back into society after murdering people reach their breaking point and start killing themselves off in record numbers, that's okay so long as women don't have to do it. As a result, our society has furnished sex-specific draft registration for men only. Now, in the description box is a 2009 CBS study that gives the suicide rates per 100,000 veterans compared first to the general public and then broken down by gender. The results show that for 2005 and 2004, suicide records indicate that over double the rate of suicides occur in the veteran population than in the general population. And they cite this appropriately as evidence of an epidemic of suicide among the veteran population. But the fact that by gender, for both years, 3 times the amount of male veterans committed suicide than female veterans, this was not attributed to an epidemic of suicide amongst the male population. Why? Because if we give men a reprieve from the societal expectation that only they should have to carry the burdens of war, who does that leave to pick up the slack? The gender that believes they are inherently more entitled to live. Now, in regards to divorce and suicide, we have, and this is a mouthful, the marital status and suicide in the National Longitudinal Mortality Study, also in the description box, quoted as such. Divorced and separated persons were over twice as likely to commit suicide as married persons. Being single or widowed had no significant effect on suicide risk. When data was stratified by sex, it was observed that the risk of suicide among divorced men was over twice that of married men. Among women, however, there were no statistically significant differentials in the risk of suicide by marital status categories, end quote. The implications are, of course, that women are given the vast majority of wealth during divorce, when most of the time she put in minimal effort into the acquisition of it. She's granted custody of the children 90% of the time as a means of facilitating this wealth transfer, and oftentimes granted alimony payments which simply have no moral justification. And so predictably, male suicide spikes after divorce. I mean, this isn't exactly news. But what isn't discussed is the deeper meaning behind these statistics. Society has furnished for these purposes an incredibly biased court system because they put more importance on the financial security of women than the lives of the husbands that are driven to suicide from the effects of the divorce that women initiate in the majority. We see this willingness to bail out women over and over in the society, and to be frank, I'm not going to cite evolutionary psychology as a cause, because to be quite honest, I could give 2 shits about a highly speculative branch of psychology that places women as the justification for every ignored male hardship this misandric society manages to produce. And I'm not even going to tell women to change either. What I am going to do is to tell men that they can drop out. You're not the quality of women you can attract with your bank account. You're not Saturday night at some ridiculous bar that you would never be at otherwise. You're not designed to live this way. Escape from society and along the way deprive it of every last damned male expectation it has of you. Every possible interest that you have that society attempts to ridicule due to its lack of ability to attract women, do it and enjoy it unapologetically. Every dollar you earn, keep it. Spend it on yourself. Not on shoes for the missus, not on mani-pedis, not on dinner or dancing or whatever other insufferable bullshit you're supposed to learn to further your chances of getting laid. Game included. Do you, and just plan your escape. That's what I'm doing. I'm using this society to garner an engineer's education, and I'm doing everything possible to get the fuck out of Dodge. And you can come with me. I mean, not literally, but you can do the same thing. The marriage strike, the man up articles, they are simply a harbinger of things to come. We want out. Men want out. And when we do get out, don't be surprised when a precipitous decline in male suicide follows. That's all I gotta say for now.